Welcome to the Grand Collaborations, a part of the Grand Podcast. My name is Niels Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grand. The Grand is now open for business, and I have therefore created the podcast category The Grand Collaboration, where I will launch podcast collaborations with partners. This podcast episode is a collaboration between The Grand and the RM Framework project funded by Horizon Europe. Research management is a job title that keeps getting more and more solid ground under its feet. From a role with little or no recognition to now being acknowledged by most countries in the EU as a vital role in research organizations. One of the reasons why the research management role has reached this point is because of a dedicated community around Europe that has insisted on shaping the role and demanding that it is taken seriously in the research community. Part of this big job has been done through EU-funded projects that have given the community the opportunity to define, shape, build and connect through the projects like Formation and RM Roadmap. The RM Framework project is a natural continuation of this, further consolidating the role. With EU funds supporting the consortium development of a European qualification system for research management by standardizing educational and training programs and elaborating a quality label to enhance interoperability and improve the RM profession within the European research area. The Grand and RM Framework will over 15 episodes dig into the different parts of the project and follow the development over the next 1.5 years. Here in this second episode I have Anna Royon-Weigelt in the studio. Anna works for ZWM, Center for Science and Research Management in Germany, which is of course a partner in the project. She is involved in mapping the state-of-the-art of research management trainings across Europe, so naturally I had to get her into the virtual podcast studio for a talk about the importance of research management trainings and the importance of developing some common standards. Please enjoy. Welcome to the Grand, the EU funding podcast. Now, as some of you have noticed, I have started a collaboration with a Horizon Europe project called RM Framework. And the RM Framework is a continuation of a handful of other EU-funded projects, primarily under Erasmus+, building up and supporting and making a foundation for the research management area and the research managers as profession. And this is a line in that series, and the project reached out, the coordinator reached out and asked me if I wanted to help them develop some podcast episodes for the duration of the project. So 15 episodes will be coming out, and this is the second episode. So if you listen to the first one, you've already been introduced to the project from the coordinator, Nick Claesen. So that's that. I'm not going to give this is the introduction, so to say. You got to go back and listen to that first episode. It's very nice. Now, I have already been talking way too much. In a second, I will let you know what we will talk about. But first and foremost, Anna, welcome.
Welcome, Niels.
Pleasure to have you in. This is new to me, to have focus on so many episodes on a specific project, but it's very, very nice. Because it really gives an opportunity to dig into things and fold things out. And it's not for the interest of everybody of my listeners, but it's indeed going to have interest for some, because others of my listeners have been doing similar projects, or they will be doing similar projects, or maybe sitting now and preparing proposals for something similar to this. So it's very, very nice that I get the chance to help you unfold your activities and also the results as we move on over the next year and a half. Now, what are we going to talk about today, Anna?
We're going to talk about research management.
Yeah, indeed we are. We're going to talk about state of the art in research management. So state of the art in trainings and educational programs now. But before we do anything else, you need to let the listeners know who you are.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Yeah, I'm Anna. I'm Anna Royon-Weigelt. I'm head of the Department for Qualification and Consulting in the German Center for Science and Research Management. We're based in Speyer. It's a beautiful city in Germany,
mhm,
and we are a project partner within the EU-funded RM framework. And we are in charge, among others, of mapping the current state of the art regarding trainings and research management, mapping the ecosystem, let's say, of research
mm,
management in the EU.
mhm. Um, And this is the topic of today. We're going to discuss a little bit about what is actually the status. Yeah, where are
Mhm.
we? What is the playing field at this stage of training programs and educational programs? And you know what? It might sound dry to the layman listener, but
Mhm.
this is actually one of the most important things at this stage of solidifying, so to say, the research management area to get recognized and solid training that suits that role because the role is failing you.
Mhm.
So what you're doing here, it's very very good. It is required, and everybody I've been talking to, it's one of the things that they come back to research managers that the trainings are vital in that position
Mhm.
to both have to internalize the knowledge, so it's not disappearing when one research manager leaves, but also to develop even further and make sure that the role is fully, so to say, capitalized. You know that it's you
Yeah.
get everything out of the role as best as
Yeah.
possible. So, short fly in, state of the art in research management training. So, what is it?
Yeah. What is research management in the context of in the European context? And you've been talking about solidifying. I would use a word. This is a very dynamic field, extremely
Mhm.
dynamic field, and
Yeah.
growing and complex and fascinating. So research management, it's all about supporting the research process from start to finish.
Mhm.
And so concretely, research managers, they help research teams secure funding where there is a brilliant research idea, important thing that could, bring new innovative ideas or advance fundamental research. So the job of research managers is really to kind of hold the frame, to help teams, research teams secure funding, ensure ethical compliance, to handle financial oversight, yeah. So manage project timelines. So all this complexity, they make sure that research operates efficiently in a responsible way with broader society impact on society.
Mhm.
And because we have an increasing complexity of research systems, we have compliance needs, external funding landscapes, and so on. So we need the role of research managers to address all these aspects.
Yeah. It's and this is what has happened also because primarily because you get more and more money and complex you get more and more money into the funding
Hmm.
system, and it's getting more and more complex.
Hmm.
The ways you can go. So that's one thing. So where to identify the sources, and then to help and facilitate the access to these things. It's not, researchers don't have the time for this, and it was always
Hmm.
like this, but that was what you used to do, right? So
Hmm.
you would have themselves sitting and applying for whatever EU
Hmm.
funding in the evening. They would sit and do this, and then they would handle students during the day or
Hmm.
get whatever PhD research they were doing. So of course the role is a facilitator par
Yes.
excellence. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's making sure that the things are it's dressing them up.
Mhm.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But but that's basically what it's in, making sure that everybody is comfortable there, and that that you get the most out of. They do their research, and then there's someone there that makes sure that when they want to go for funding, they do it the right way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Especially also because all the rules and legislations, they change all the time. And as
yeah,
a researcher, you just can't do everything. It's important to focus on what your strength is, what your job is actually.
yeah,
And the role of research manager, the clearer it is, the more coherent it is and visible, or for people, also for people, then we can define the tasks, delegate tasks, and get support, and have standards also for the qualification and the level also of support that researchers get.
yeah. And when you come to this stage, when we've come to reach this stage now it's recognized. We'll come back to that later about the
Mhm.
commission's role in this and what they've done. But you need to look at the education of how do you educate the research managers, right?
Mhm.
How
Mhm.
to train them, when they are in the positions so so it has a frame, so to say. What do you need to know when you do this? What are the different uh, areas of competence that you need to have
Mm.
and you need to build up when you have this, and so on and so
Mhm.
forth? So yeah.
Still, we're not that far, I would say, on the EU level,
Mm,
because you have a huge diversity regarding what the role of a research manager is, and even the name. We don't have a kind of clear one definition
mm,
Europe wide. We are working on that because each country has their specific traditions, perspectives on that, each institution, maybe even, or each field of research. So this role is emerging in some countries more than in others because they
mm,
have been already thinking the role over a decade and more.
mm.
And in other countries, it's emerging, and we're working on this dynamic to see what the future of research in Europe needs in the mean regarding research managers, and we have to deal with a great variety. Yeah, some in
Yeah.
some contexts, like for example, a lot of Eastern European countries, we speak often of research administrators,
Mhm,
meaning, uh, people rather in the administrative field who have to, for example, manage administer the finances. Yeah,
mhm.
but in
Yeah.
other countries we will have research managers. So they will be equipped with the necessary influence, decision making power, to make bigger decisions or to influence policy, strategic decisions.
Mhm,
So you see, when you say research manager, in depending on the place you are, yeah, on the
mhm,
country you are
mhm.
in, people will have different pictures in their heads and
Yeah,
different traditions and habits and expectations. So the idea is here to deal with this diversity, and find a common frame, something that is coherent.
yeah. Yeah, and I guess also being able to incorporate the different shapes that the role has.
Exactly. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So
let's
it's a
sorry.
challenge, yeah. So how can you reduce a bit that complexity a bit, and still acknowledge and give space to variety, to diversity, the one
Uh,
that is our strength in
yeah.
Europe. Yeah.
We're already now bridging a little bit, so that's fine. What we're talking about now bridges us fine into the next block here, defining the profession. Because before we probably, I also did this with Nick, but let's just have
Hmm.
this, like looking at what they actually do. So so let's just have the definition in place before we move into talking about the training landscape and so on. So what do they do, the research managers?
Well, as I said, they have to do a lot of things. They have to, depending on the country, yeah, they will do more or less and on different levels. You
Mhm,
can have people who will be more active in the pre-award phase of a research project. So they will mainly focus on helping the researchers secure funds. Others will handle the legal aspects. So they will advise researchers regarding legal aspect, compliance aspect, ethics, and so on. Others will make sure that infrastructures can be used and developed, and so on. So their role is very different from country to country. They have more or less, let's say, leadership roles. Sometimes it's more administrative, sometimes it's more a leadership role. And they have there is a whole set of competencies, of skills you need. If you see the profession as a whole, it covers really a lot of various roles as moderators of teams, mediators, consultants, and administrators, and so on.
Yeah, and now we just talked about it, right? But it is this that they, especially if you are a small university with little resources for this kind of position, then you will have a juggler. Yeah, you will be a juggler in that position because you will probably be asked to do many kinds of different things, where on larger universities where they maybe have been recognizing the role for 10 years or something like this, you would have a full department with 5, 6, 7, 10 people that covers the different areas with different responsibilities per person.
So-called project office,
Yeah.
and it's in other cases you will have to do it in a more informal way. Yeah.
I have here in the rundown why clear definitions matter for training and recognition.
Well, clear definitions make a profession or make things visible, and tangible. And if I have a clear definition of the role and the understanding of the functions and what has to be done in this function as a research manager, I can also provide trainings. Yeah, I know what the learning outcome should be. I know what aspects have to be served, prepared, defined.
Yeah, but you have to build training. Yeah. Obviously, when it's a young profession, so to say, a young role type of profession, it of course there's a lot of mud sometimes, or like overlapping, or like different places, as we just been talking about, different places, different definitions of what they're supposed to do, and so on and so forth. But obviously, at some point of time, if you want to professionalize it and get into a place where you can make solid training schemes, educational schemes, naturally, then you need a frame. Need to
You need a
define
frame,
things.
exactly.
You need to put it into a box, but you need to have some okay, this is this corner, and this is this corner, and this is this corner, so you need to put words on what it is.
Exactly, to find a common language on that, yeah. And
Exactly.
recognition is also a topic. Having a clearly defined profession makes it visible, and then you can also develop clear career paths and perspectives and be attractive for people who want to work in this field, because the field is identified as such, and you know how you can develop further. So it's not a dead end, but you can gain additional qualification, for example, and get new possibilities, new opportunities.
All right, I think that's that. Let's move into to the main the main thing that we're going to talk about today: current training landscape. And so how does it look? What do you have out there?
We have a lot of trainings. So a lot of trainings and a lot of spaces to learn how to become a research manager. It's not always formal. Sometimes you learn the job on the job, and you have kind of a peer learning to move or integrate or grow into that profession. And more we have trainings that are structured, uh, um, either designed for an institution for their own research managers, or it's an open format. And we some various approaches here. Also, you can have formal trainings in universities. You can have formal trainings outside universities by specialized organizations who
Mhm.
provide that type of training, and so on. Some of them are established, some of them are in the making
Yeah.
currently. Mhm.
Uh, would you call it fragmented?
Yes, it's fragmented. It's not always accessible, not
Mm.
always, there's also who is financing this and so on. Also, there's a question of accessibility for people. What are the languages? So it's ideal when you have training in the English language, so a lot of people can participate, can take
Mhm.
place, can take part. And yeah, some of them are online, of course. Some of them are on site. So it's still very how could I? It has a lot of facets. There is
Uh,
emerging a training landscape, but it's still very fragmented. And there is no, I would say there is no common reference yet.
no, this is a leading question. Do you think that's a pro do you think that's a problem that is fragmented when it comes to the profession and
Well,
professionalizing it?
it has two facets, the fragmentation, or I would say the diversity. The diversity should stay, I think, because it's
Mhm.
important to address local context, institutional context that have different needs. But the
Mhm.
fragmentation, um, um, I think we should help overcome it because we can gain a lot. There is a lot of added value also in networking, in having a common language, common understanding. If we have people who can gain their first experience in Bulgaria and continue their career in Germany or in Italy, so we can also have a kind of common capital of well qualified people in Europe.
Mm, yeah.
So this is the idea of kind of overcoming this fragmentation and finding a common ground where we can grow intelligence, common
Uh,
intelligence and qualification.
I think my own thought about this is that the ideally you would have across the whole continent in schools that's probably vocational training
Hmm.
where you educate for administration and university administration that you would have courses there, yeah,
Hmm.
course lines in those schools if you are particularly interested in research management, yeah,
Hmm.
to have the profession, to have the research management professionalized and recognized in such a way that you have courses in established schools.
Hmm.
Um, that's probably where, that's probably the end goal.
Yes, and still, yeah, I think we can rely on a variety of possibilities on how to gain qualification. If we have a common frame, it can be a school, it can be an organization, an association, it can be a foundation. Maybe you define school in a broader way
Broader,
than I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, but in a broad sense, yes, I would say good learning spaces with a good reference regarding quality of qualification, regarding the segmentation also of
Mhm.
roles and functions
Yeah,
of for research managers. Mhm.
and then exam, if like proof of exams, yeah,
Exactly, with these
yeah,
common reference,
official, yeah,
ECTS, yeah, you can gain and build on it, absolutely. Mhm.
yeah,
So this is the kind of interoperability that we are looking for.
indeed.
To say you can export your knowledge, you can import knowledge, and it is recognized, and you can kind of learn a lifelong, practice this lifelong learning and Europe-wide learning regarding research management.
And speaking of this, what's missing in the current landscape?
Yeah,
Now
what's
I mentioned something, but what if from your point of view, what is missing at this stage in the training landscape?
mhm. Well, this is, I would say, what is missing is it varies across, concretely, regarding the qualification, it varies across Europe. You have some countries or regions where there is some training provided. Missing is, I would say, a general coherence of the whole, regarding the whole profession and qualification. So we need a common ground, a common language to speak about the profession, to qualify regarding the profession, and we need a common frame regarding also the quality. So something like a label, an orientation, regarding the trainings that are provided.
Yeah. And it's not just people who wants to be a research manager, right? It's also for the managers. Yeah, this should also,
Mm,
that's also something where the managers understand more clearly the ones that needs to hire research managers.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
employers,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, because they're the one that define the working days of the research managers. Yeah,
Yes.
and if they don't fully understand the role or the complexity of it, then it's tricky.
Absolutely.
Now, now I put here also concrete examples of trainings, but do you think do you have anything you want to share
Yeah.
before we
Oh, I could mention a lot. We have examples with
give
the
us some? Let us see.
some. EARMA, the European Research Management Association, is
Hmm.
offering an English-speaking, module-oriented, a very nice training certificate that is available and accessible in all of Europe. So it's really a great thing. We have, in Germany, we have an example with the Eurestma project. It's a certificate which is also, I think it's for a total of 15 ECTS. You can have a certificate also in English for, I would say, already people who are in the middle management, so already in middle leadership
Hmm.
positions.
Hmm.
I have the example of my own organization. We have a course for research managers, Forschungsmanager. So this is tailored as an example of things that are tailored more for one country. Till now, we have had it in only in German. So if it's for
Hmm.
German junior research managers, I would say, who are at the entry point of this profession,
Hmm.
and so on and so far. So you have a lot. You have organizations already now also in Eastern Europe organizing. There has been this project formation with
Yeah.
different organizations in Eastern Europe, also with a lot of content, a lot of very well developed documentations for research managers.
Yeah, I had Virak Svar
Hmm.
for actually a double episode
Hmm.
about. So I will put a link to the episode on the episode site for this
Hmm.
episode, so you can check that out, dear listener, if you find this interesting.
Hmm.
But yes, indeed, Yama and the European Commission has the money that's been given to the projects to build this up has of course been setting, like starting setting some standards for
Hmm.
trainings. It's
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there is these various projects we are building now in the frame of the RM framework project. We're building on what has been already developed, used, conceptualized, and studied, analyzed during various previous projects, and that are very helpful now to develop this common framework, this coherent framework. So we have a lot of work done already in the CADEA project and the RM roadmap project, due to training projects like formation, for example, and
mm,
this will help a lot. We are trying to kind of synthesize and find the coherent, to bring them together in order to, yeah, to build this. Um, more harmonized, let's say, landscape for research management.
Mm. Yeah. Now, and we have to talk about what you are going to do in the project.
Hmm.
Because this is what we of course why we of course have this podcast series,
Yeah, yeah.
to share how you will attack this specific problem. So now we've been defining it. We've been defining the current landscape, having talking a little about that. But now you need to share a little bit with us what you will do in the project. So what did you receive funding to carry out?
Hmm. Yeah. So we have various tasks, let's say, dispatched over a number of various European partners, which also ensures that there is not just one perspective on that, but we really kind of use the whole diversity as far as possible, the diversity that we have in Europe
Mm,
regarding this, and we will develop. So we have a mapping, a kind of a balance of everything that is now. How does the landscape look like? What is missing?
mhm.
And
Have
what
you done
can
this the first 6 months?
exactly? We are in the first 6 months. We have been doing the mapping, clarifying also a first structure. I think further in further podcast episodes, you will also discuss this more in detail. But we're
Mhm.
preparing a handbook for training
Yeah.
providers.
Mhm.
So it will not be the training to do, but we're providing the frame for that and the
Mhm.
idea of how to deal with this. So we will explain, of course, the context of research management and how to kind of build a training that addresses both the need for harmonization, common standards, and has the flexibility to adapt to local contexts
Mhm.
and specificities.
Mhm.
So we'll work on that. We will work also on an idea for a label, which the intention is here is not to have a label that is a kind of how to say, it's a common frame. It has to be a common frame, yeah,
Mhm.
and to
So it's a
ensure
quality
quality. Also,
label.
sorry.
Quality label.
A quality label, exactly. So the
Yeah.
idea is to have to ensure comparability, to have a
Yeah.
label that where I can check and say, okay, this is the quality required for a training on this level, or with this type of function, with this accessibility and being also dynamic and flexible enough.
Mhm.
So I think this comparability is really, it's not uniformity, it's comparability. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the nuance, I would say. Mhm.
I think what here in the runners a harmonization and common standards. So basically, what we've been
Mhm.
already talking about in the up till now in the podcast, right? So that things find the same, they have the same viewpoint, so to say, to stand from. Yeah, that they stand on the same hill. Okay, this is what it is, and then you have different views from that hill, but you
Mhm.
agree on a common ground. And then depending on which corner of Europe you are from, how you define the role in your corner, so to say, what they're supposed to do, you can then kind of modular, I guess, ish, that they can choose. Okay, here on the if it's the role includes this and this and this is what we need to be aware of. This is the trainings they need to take.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. And I think it will help also to I use again this picture of a common language, because I think in these professions that are very highly, let's say, oriented towards also problem solving and reacting to situations that may change, that are sometimes even strategic or political, have to do with policy. Networking is very important. So having identifying, who are my partners in the network, who are my peers, and how can we develop this qualification and develop tools to support research in Europe or in my country. So I think the added value also of this framework or the work we are doing is also to create a strong community a vivid community that will also support the profession and the development of this profession.
Yeah, no, but it's a very everybody says that this community is very special. There's a very special bond between people. Whenever
Mhm.
they go to the annual Yama event or whatever events
Mhm.
people go to, it's a very common, like it's a very
Yeah.
common
Mhm.
understanding of each other's position and what people have to deal with, both with formalities and content, but
Yeah.
also psychologically, in juggling
Mhm.
with the. So there's many layers in this role that is
Mhm. Mhm.
can be
Mhm.
challenging to deal with. Yeah.
Mhm. Maybe I can speak a bit from the German perspective. In Germany, we have been developing this concept of Wissenschaftsmanagement, so it's management of science. And at the
Yeah.
beginning, it was not always easy for everybody in Germany to accept that science can be managed. But more and more, there has been discussions, and the profession itself has also developed and is also very v- diverse. But it's kind of called as it's been identified as third space.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's not research, it's not administration or execution, merely execution of certain decisions. It's something between, and this profession in between is making a link, is dealing with a high complexity, is a position of service regarding research, and it really stands for itself.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's also because German is a very precise language.
Maybe.
Uh, so if you are a researcher
Mm,
yourself, you pay a lot of importance to what words mean. So this is so what does it actually mean, and then then it
mm,
becomes a semantic discussion about but
mm,
so and alone for that reason it's
mm.
very important to have definitions like
Yeah,
this coming from
yeah.
that you can define it out of a
Mhm,
cultural context, so to say, from one nation's context, but say, okay, this is what happens in Europe. This is what happens
mhm,
within this field. This is a role that is there. It's a reality. Now let's try to dress these research managers up, so for the better for everybody.
mhm. And it's empowering, of course. Yeah, if you can speak about your profession, develop it, and yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It's what I also sort of in my many episodes with research managers, what a sort of slow analysis coming forward to that it's a very lonely role. You're often lonely in the role.
Mhm, mhm,
If you're not so lucky to have a whole team of 10, 15 people in a big in RWT Aachen, for example, or some of these big universities that really have resources to put into
mhm,
this. If you sit one or two people
mhm,
in a fairly large university in Warsaw or Bucharest or whatever, and you have to juggle with 10,000 different things, it's
mhm,
very easy to feel alone
mhm. Yeah.
because the researchers often do not understand what you're talking about. The managers
Mhm,
have kind of an idea of what you're doing, but they have so much else to do.
mhm,
So to discuss with peers that understand what you're talking about,
mhm,
is what they all say that Yama has solved a huge role there just
mhm,
by having the actual networking at the annual events. Of course, there's also a lot of content for them, right? But
mhm,
the sheer networking and mingling,
mhm,
it's what everybody says, that recognition and mirroring yourself into other people that have the exact same challenges as you have.
mhm.
Mm, mm. Have we talked about implications for careers, mobility, and institutional capacity?
Not yet, not directly before, a bit before, let's say. I
Mm,
linked it to other aspects, but it's something we can address again, of course, here. It's when I say it's empowering, and it's also creating paths and perspectives. As a professional, if I take the example of someone who's done a PhD and who's asking themselves, do I want to pursue research? Very often the question, do I want to pursue research? And if I'm not sure, what are the alternatives? Yeah.
mm,
And having this clarity in this as a concrete opportunity to say, well, my role, I can shape my role, use my knowledge about research, and find a profession, a path for myself
Mhm.
as a career manager. It's something that is also very attractive. Many countries, I speak also again from the German perspective, but it's not the only country where we have a lack of qualified personnel in
Mhm.
various fields. Having a being also attractive for people who are qualified and who are also dealing with this complexity and who feel like supporting science and working with the people who do the research. I think it's a very important aspect also for
It's
mobility and so on. Mm.
it's a very dedicated group of people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, exactly this, and actually, I have one of my listeners who won a mug. I have the grand mug that I hand out on a regular basis to people who have made a specifically good and nice comment on my LinkedIn site.
Ah, okay.
Now, and why did she win that mug? That was because she's a research manager. She's called Isabel Bordalo. She works for RISE in Sweden,
Mhm.
Spanish national. And she, in that comment, she mentioned that the toughest thing for her in all of her career when she made the shift from researcher to being a
Mhm.
research manager, because she lost the
Mhm.
recognition from her
Yes.
research peers,
Mhm.
and her managers didn't really understand what she was doing.
Mhm.
So that, but losing the recognition from the researchers was something that she found incredibly hard to deal with.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think many would experience that because researchers are fantastic people,
Mhm.
both in private and public, but they also very. If you step outside of that, it's a group you know, if you have been doing something in that group and you step out of that, it's a it's
Mhm.
often seen with like less worth
Mhm.
because they are so dedicated to what they do. It's they would kill almost literally to
Well, there
fight
is something.
fight for their research area, right?
Yeah, yeah. There is something passionate about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's I can understand this feeling of becoming maybe let's say invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you leave research, you become invisible, and very often, I don't know if it's the case in all the countries, but you have very often as still a precarious position, yes, short time positions. When so you work as a research manager, it's defined sometimes vaguely. You do a lot of things, but it's not always very clear, and so people tend to give you a lot of projects to do they want to delegate. Yeah, so
Mm,
finding a structure also for yourself in your work, a meaning, a dimension, and understanding on what level you are working. Sometimes, for example, also it has something to do with the informal leadership. You have to bring people to collaborate together, but you don't have the formal power to oblige them to. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you have to collaborate. In Germany we call that lateral leadership. When
Hmm.
you have to lead people, you have to shape a form of leadership without having a formal power to do so.
Mm,
And so it's sometimes it has a lot to do with communication, with building bridges, with explaining things within an international cooperation, for example, intercultural communication skills, or explaining, to people from the administration and from research to bring them together.
mhm,
So a moderator's, facilitator's role in many situations. Plus, you have to understand what is happening on a kind of more technical, more research science oriented dimension, finances, and so on. So it's a very so I think really making this visible, making this recognizable also for
mhm.
people who don't know the role is absolutely central. So
Yeah,
it's what we try to contribute to. with all our
Yeah.
efforts, joint
Yeah,
efforts.
and you have good forces with you, and I don't just say that because you pay me money to make this podcast for you. No, but you have gathered a nice group of partners there, and you have a
Yeah,
track
yeah.
record.
Mm.
Not everybody has been in the same projects that has
Mhm.
been funded by the commission within this, but there's a certain coherence
Mhm.
with what else has been done with the partners that's there. So
Mhm.
obviously that has a value in the activity you will do here
Mhm.
in this project.
Mhm.
Now, making sure this doesn't get too long. Do you have anything else to add around this? Because then we will move into the next block. If you
Mhm.
have
No,
anything else.
that would be all from my side.
All right. So what I wanted to here in the last block before we have the reflection, we need to talk about a common framework because there has been released something from the commission with the work from one of the former projects on a roadmap, also other,
Mhm.
which I don't remember, but there has been released something related to this. So can you maybe share a little bit about that, and then
Mhm.
we have a conversation about why it is important?
Okay. Well, it's one of the further steps towards the common framework for qualifications. It's a
Hmm.
European competence framework for research managers, and where various areas of competency and skills have been um, structured in a model.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
so we have these various 7 areas of competency: research project oversight. So, project management competencies, managing research projects, deliverables, and so on,
Hmm.
planning. We have, a specialized knowledge for research managers, like what I mentioned before: pre-award knowledge, post-award. What do you need to know to get this funding, and so on.
Hmm.
Aspects like compliance are part of it, finance, infrastructure management. Sometimes you have specific aspects like clinical research management and so on. Ethics, integrity also are part of this specialized knowledge for research managers. Then you have technical proficiency, which is specific to so data collection, data management, statistical analysis, specific technical legal skills, IT, AI, of course, and so on. Then we have
Hmm.
something which is more about the relationship dimension, so stakeholder management. Yeah, how
Yep.
do you deal with all these actors? Outreach. How do you deal with the academic community, collaboration, community engagement, and so on? How do you build trust with strategic partnerships, within strategic partnerships, diplomacy, negotiation, yeah, mediation skills. We mentioned that before, and so
All
on
right.
and so far.
So the question is this something that you will be having a left eye on, so to say? Will you have it as
Of
use
course,
it
it's a
in? Yeah, yeah.
core part of what we work on. We are working on to develop this framework for qualification.
Mhm,
We have on one, we will be working with the profiles of different profiles of research managers. Yeah, you have
mhm,
various, let's say, facets or aspects of the role of a research manager. So job profiles, and we will work with these 7 areas of competencies, and we will work also with learning outcomes. When we speak about trainings, we have to ask ourselves, what are actually the outcomes? What should be different after the training? And
mm,
this has also been provided by the Cardia project with a lot of various 800 learning outcomes. And we are going to kind of use all these outputs from previous projects to build this framework, qualification framework for research managers further in a
yeah,
way that is usable, that training managers can use it, because now we have a lot of various projects with a lot of output, a lot of knowledge now about research management and qualifications they need, and now we want to translate this into something that can be used by training providers concretely.
mhm, uh, and naturally, that's what we already have discussed, or this, like, to sort of balancing all these what is happening, like decentralized, how things, try to get a common set of values. And that's is that the handbook? Is that what is gonna?
That's is going among others. That's going to become a handbook, yes. And
Yeah.
ideas for train the trainer, a kind of, how do you say, model? Yeah.
Hmm. So what have you promised, so to say, in this respect? Will you have an online platform, or will there
There is
be a
an online
concrete?
platform. There will be this handbook. There will be other documents
So is that a
that help.
printed example? Is that a printed book,
As far
or
as I
is it a
know, it's
PDF?
going to be online. It's going to be
Yeah,
to be a PDF. It's
yeah.
easier to actualize, of course, and to download.
Distribute.
Yeah,
It's also cheaper.
yeah.
It's the
Yeah, and
taxpayers'
it's in
money,
line
right?
with, ecological aspects and so on, and it's more
Yeah,
accessible for everybody. We don't have to send it
yeah.
somewhere, but it's accessible. The idea is also to have a kind of, common platforms where you can gain this knowledge, when you can support training providers to develop. So building capacity actually regarding
Hmm.
the whole profession. Mm.
Will this then be integrated in the RM com website, or how is that going to work? Is it going to be centralized some way, the tools and these handbook and so on, with the other things that the commission has?
I'm not quite
Next
sure yet.
project, or?
We have a website, a project website, and
Hmm.
what will be done exactly, if we going to share the outcomes on a common website. I have to say, ich bin überfragt, we say in German.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know in detail, but
yeah,
of
yeah,
course the idea is to make this accessible and usable
yeah.
as far as
Probably,
possible. Mm.
yeah. All right. And reflections. Do you have anything? Do you have any? About like
Mhm.
some thoughts, or enlightenments, or
Mhm.
realizations you've been having in the partner group, or
Mhm.
yourself, with the
Yeah.
work, with the proposal, that or do you have anything
Mm.
on
I'm
reflections?
I find it extremely exciting to work on this project because we have something where partners, really research managers, management associations, and university, and ourselves as training providers work together. So the community is actually, thanks to the funding, is IARMA is leading the whole project, and
Mm,
through the community is developing the structures and frameworks, with the encouragement of the European Union, the Commission, and I think it's a great also experience to see that, yeah, because we have actually to deal with exactly the same challenges we have on the ground. So understanding each other, what do we mean by, yeah, what is our different context within the partners in the project too. So yeah, I think it's extreme. It's a rich experience, let's
mhm.
say, and
Yeah,
I'm extremely thankful to be able to be there at a moment where this is taking, the shape is appearing.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
emerging.
I understand.
Mm.
Yeah. Thanks.
And there is a momentum. Maybe it's just a second. There is really a
Hmm.
huge momentum because of the focus that is put on research in the European Union, and the funding of research in the European Union, actually due to the global context. So it's yeah,
Thanks.
very, yeah, interesting, fascinating. Thank you, Niels.
Anna, it's been a pleasure. It's been very, very nice having you into this for this conversation, and
Thank you for me
folding
too.
this out, because I will try to sex up the title, because if you just write state of the art in at the time, because it's something where people, oh, now we're going to hear state, like it,
It's
because
a
it's
working
actually, it's
title.
been, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's gonna be,
Uh-huh.
it's been a very, very nice
Okay.
conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For me too, and thank you for taking the fear off me. Um, I I had a feeling I can speak freely. That was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Now, I'm just going to
Okay.
land the plane before we say goodbye to the listeners. So, So this, as mentioned in the beginning, this is the second episode out of 15. So this is the beginning of a journey to where we will walk hand in hand, the Grant and RM Framework project. The next episode will go into depth about the background and what are the key areas that the project is working with. We're still outlining and planning and so on in our end, but every 6 weeks you will have an episode out, Wednesday every 6 weeks. So thanks for listening to the end. If you find this interesting, I can recommend you to go to my platform, thegrant.eu. You will both find a link in your episodes notes in Spotify or Apple Podcast, wherever you listen. In the resume you have there under the podcast, there's a link, and if you go to that link, you'll come to the episode site for this episode. You'll find a LinkedIn a link to Anna's LinkedIn site, and you'll find links to the project website that I have developed for the framework Iron Framework project on my site. And there's of course also naturally a link to their own project website with all the information you need to know. So here is your directions and logistics if you want to learn more information. On my website, you will also find tons of other podcast episodes about this and so much else within EU R&D funding. So go there, browse around and say, that's fantastic. And and when you think they're so fantastic, if you want to support a humble podcaster like myself, independent that is, go to the bottom of each page and you'll find an online form to subscribe to my email list. And then you'll get, whenever I release anything, you'll receive an email. Otherwise, connect with me on LinkedIn. And go and find my page on LinkedIn, The Grant. That's where the fun happens. That's where the flow is. That's where both episodes from this collaboration comes, but also my feed that's been rolling every Monday or Sunday, 12 o'clock. It's being released every Sunday. A podcast episode about R&D funding. So that's that. That was the plane to land. I've been doing it many times. When I did this in the beginning, there was a lot of ers and outs, but now it's.
I can imagine, but I see that I love the flow. There is a flow.
Anna, thank you so much for joining this. Let's say goodbye to the dear listeners. Bye.
Thank you, Niels. Bye.
You have been listening to The Grant Collaboration, a part of the Grant podcast. This podcast episode is a collaboration between the RM Framework project and the Grant. All episodes in this RM Framework series have their own site on the Grant website. You will find the link to the episode site where you listen to your podcast. On the site for this episode, you will find a link to Anna's LinkedIn site and a link to the project website. Next episode will be released the 19th of November and will zoom in on the research management ecosystem. We look forward to that. You have been listening to the Grant Collaborations, a part of the Grant podcast.